Hello, my name is Rodney Berry. I am of Adam and Eve Word Data Research. I've had a couple of men online and I've had people email me recently telling me that they go to my website and they say it's such a massive website, which to me naturally it's not that big, but they tell me they cannot quite grasp what I mean, that I have found the causes of aging and I have found the cure for aging. Well, they asked me to try to condense it, to put it in a synopsis. And as you know, the whirlwind that science data is, that's very hard to do. But I'm going to attempt it right here. You will see here I have questions listed on the board here. What is man? What is aging? When did death, aging, lysis, and license begin on earth? Who in today's science discovered how death and aging began killing life? What is the molecule that is the vector of aging? What is life and how? Who in science first pointed to one of the most severe ways man becomes infected each day? How deep, to what level does the Simpsonic pandemic plague aging go? And you'll notice on each side here, I have answers to certain questions. The primordial soup, Luca, RNA World, Walter Gilbert, Joshua Lederberg, Eli Michnikov, Hippocrates, sperm, stem cell, microbe, nanobacteria, Luca, fungus, bacteria, viruses, phages, decomposer, myco. Then we go over here, we have life, consciousness, energy, force, Max Planck, Nikola Tesla. We have method of infection, conjugation, food, air, breathing, water, liquids, substrates by touch, earth, DNA, RNA, genes, membrane, organelles, nucleus, micro, macro, atomic, subatomic, and subnano, massless, and energy levels. You see here at the top here, I have existology. I have here an abbreviation, AEWR for Adam and Eve, Data Word Research, and I decided to go ahead and put Da Vinci's Man up here just to keep us on the subject. As I state, I've had men that tell me they want me to condense this. So condensing we're going to do today. What is man? Man, according to science, and very rightly so, is a microbe. We are a microbe. We are built by microbes and we are designed, developed in the same method as microbes. We have organs. They have organelles. We have organs. Their organelles make proteins, which can be enzymes, hormones, whatever the case may be. Our body makes, our liver, different glands in our body make proteins and enzymes. Our cells, again, each individual cell, which is a microbe, according to science, makes enzymes and proteins inside the cell. So man, in every sense of the word, is a microbe. We are built, we seem to ourselves to be this massive being compared to microbes, but when you look out into the universe, you can tell that we are very microscopic in structure ourselves. What is aging? Aging is a decomposer infection. I realized this in an epiphany long ago, and I had a hypothesis that something very tiny was causing us to be sick, which all science knows this. The great men in science know this, such as Bill Andrews, such as Aubrey de Grey, other men, they know that it has to happen in each or we don't age at the same rate. The body will not age at the same rate. So each cell of our body is infected, as each biocell in nature is infected. Every life form on earth has this infection that causes us to age, is the reason we have considered it to be a natural phenomenon, when it is not a natural phenomenon. It is a massively deep, and a massive infection of our entire structure. But we're very strong, and we would not exist at all. We would die in our mother's womb, and our mother would never have existed if we were not very strong. Our body, the chromosomes, the genes, fight this infection our entire existence. They fight it very strong in the beginning of our birth, and we're born very pure, or we would not reach the age of 17, 18 years old. Naturally, I didn't turn off my phone. Let me check this very quickly. Return the answer, and voila, we'll turn this thing off. It destroys me the day long. Anyway, man is a microbe. As stated, science knows this. They've known it from the beginning. It is proven every day. People say, well, I don't believe that. I don't believe we rose up from microbes, yet we have the evidence each day walking around us. It can be in our family. It can be on the streets. It can be in the store. It can be in school. We'll be studying next to a young woman studying there that is pregnant. Thought I turned you off. Let me hold this animal down here. Go away from me. Okay, it's turned off this time for sure. Okay. Each day, a woman sitting next to us is impregnated by man through conjugation. Man's penis, a very beautiful system, I love it. A man's penis enters a woman and injects microbes into her body. This sperm enters her body. One is a better swimmer than the others and gets to the egg, enters the egg, and then smaller microbes come forth out of this microbe, this sperm, and they are called stem cells, and they begin to multiply, and they begin to build our organs. We are built right there in the woman's womb by microbes, showing that microbes developed us, created us, whatever the great creator of life, the stem cell, created us in our mother's womb, and we rose up to be a large stem cell, a large microbe, built by microbes. Hey, I'm going to keep replicating myself until I've made a large structure that I can function more greatly in. I am the great creator of life, the stem cell. Okay, we've surely proven that we are microbes here. Now, you notice in the microbe realm, I've told you what is aging. Aging is a decomposer disease. I knew this. But I had to prove it. I couldn't enter a laboratory. I kept trying to get to Baylor University and different laboratories near me, especially Baylor at the time. Many years ago, they'd got their very large microscope, and I wanted involved in it, but they wouldn't let me into their laboratory. But I knew I had to prove that it was a decomposer disease, because aging is not us getting more decrepit, because we see we have a system that's capable of repairing us. But this system is in a constant battle of life against aging and death. The day long, the stem cell, instead of building us, repairing us, they must also, in the midst of keeping us alive, they must fight a battle, a war against death, a war against the microbes that enter our body and want us destroyed. They have to fight this battle. They have to make multi-purpose cells, our immune system, and they must fight the day long while at the same time keeping us alive, repairing our body. If they did not have this massive attack, they would be replicating, instead of into an immune system to protect us, they would be replicating into new cells to build our body strong and older and wiser. We would live centuries instead of mere decades. Okay? We're a microbe. How do microbes die? How do microbes no longer exist? What they do, they're infected by other microbes who come in, inject them with enzymes, inject them with their offspring. As in the human body, our entire gut, our skin, everything, the microbes are inside of us, reproducing, building up. Evidence of this, sadly, we must look upon it. When children are born, if they die immediately, it takes their body many, many days to decompose. Because why? The tiny, on the atomic level attackers from the Luca RNA world that built microbes long ago and that still interest today. They're so minute, they're so small, yet science looks upon them sometimes in the form of nanobacteria, and we look upon them in the form of all microbes, in the form of E. coli, all these. They built these structures, and they are still inside these structures. They are inside these structures in our body, and if that microbe, E. coli, dies in our body, still LUCA, in the most minute form, subatomic, is loose in our body. LUCA can motivate, can move around, but not as well as if they're in microbes that can mass produce inside the body. So again, what happens to a microbe when it dies? It bursts open due to the phages, the viruses, the other bacteria that has infected it. They burst open, they lysis, and then if they have time to do so, they take their DNA and they eat this microbe they just burst out of. How does man die? The same exact situation. They're in each of our cells. They're in our body, in our gut. After we die, when we're older, we die. We lysis in just a few days. We burst open in just a few days versus a small infant who's under attack the moment it's born by the ruthless killers of life, the infection I call the synsonic plague, the synsonic pandemic plague. But again, we're microbes, so we burst open due to the microbes inside of us making everything from lysins to gas to whatever the case may be. Our body bursts open. The microbes eat us from within and from without, and then they leave to try to become part of another battle against life. The battle is life against death. So, what have we proven here? We're microbes. We even die as microbes, but on a much larger scale. So, who in today's science discovered how death, aging, began killing life? Joshua Lederberg. Many decades ago, great man, Joshua Lederberg, he discovered conjugation. I've got it here. Let's go ahead and draw this over here. Joshua Lederberg from here, out here. And then we go over here, conjugation. Joshua Lederberg discovered conjugation in bacteria and in microbes in general. They conjugate with us each day. They land on our body, and then if they can't get in, they'll pierce us as best they can. Our cells are in our cell filters, and they inject toxins. They inject their enzymes. They inject their offspring into our bodies. They get in there and help destroy this being here. We want it to only live decades. We want to eat it as soon as possible. So, Joshua Lederberg discovered that conjugation is the method in which we perish. But he also proved, again, that we're from microbes because microbes conjugate. The gram-negative microbe conjugates with the pili. We conjugate with our penis, with a beautiful woman. We have a beautiful system. Okay? We discussed that. What is the molecule that is the vector of aging? Well, I've shown you a small clip of it before this video started. What is the molecule that is the greatest vector of aging? Which one infects us the most greatly? Well, I've got over here Earth. Now, naturally, we would have to definitely call it a macromolecule, but in the scope of the universe, it's just a molecule, basically, that's inflamed. Earth is the vector. Everything we touch, everything we eat, we breathe air, we drink liquids, we drink water. The foods we eat, everything we eat, touch, and breathe on Earth is infected by the pandemic synsonic plague due to man having to breathe the air, to eat the foods that are infected. Science tells us in almost every verse, we'll be reading about bacteria, our fungus, and our nanobacteria, whatever the case may be, and you'll see the words they must use. They say it is ubiquitous. It permeates the earth. It is found in every environment. We are an environment, and science has proven that we are infected by these pathogens, these tiny subatomic, subnano pathogens. We have a severe infection, and they infect us hundreds of ways. Hundreds. As I discussed, conjugation, landing on our skin. They're inside our body. They inject us with bacteriocins. They inject us with chemicals that our body needs, but we don't need it from bacteria. We need it from our food substances of nature that we eat. But bacteria replicate the substances we need. Why do they do that? Because RNA world, LUCA specifically, and we're going to discuss another existence here in just a moment, they want deep into our system. How would you get deep into another one's system? You steal the genome, you find out what it takes for them to exist, and then you make this same substance and have yourself in it, and then you are taken into the body and become literally part of the structure. Science says that we are highly infected by bacteria. They say that we're way outweighed by the bacterial infections. 10% of our cells, some men say, I say the same thing. We are actually, I would say more like a 30-35% bacteria and subatomic particles that are in there to destroy us. So our body is basically maybe 60, maybe 50% only our cells. The rest is the infection trying to destroy us. How strong are we? We are very strong, or we would die at birth. These things are in us in a dramatic fashion. Okay, what is life? How is life? Well, we've got up here Max Planck, Nikola Tesla. We've got life, consciousness, energy, force. How did life begin? There first had to be energy for life to begin. Science has proven this. Nothing moves without energy. Had to be energy first. So life truly began on the energy level. The existence of any kind of life form had to first start with energy. Max Planck spoke that anything that has an energy in it, anything that has a force, an energy in it, is a being of consciousness, has a thought process, is deciding what it's going to do. Nikola Tesla states that there is a universal energy, a universal consciousness that's in every life form on Earth and throughout the universe. I'm not going to argue with these men. I felt the same, but they are so great. How could I possibly argue with these men? Life begins with energy. So, what is life? In its purest form, it's energy. Okay. Let's move on here. Who in science first pointed to one of the most severe ways man becomes infected each day? We have over here Eli Michnikov. We have over here Hippocrates. We have standing right here Rodney Berry. I knew years ago that there was something about the gut and the transition of aging and death. Some days I was very sick years ago. I had actually died under a building. I was electrocuted. And I was so weak for literally years after that, and it damaged my heart. But I would always notice the days that I felt like I was near death, that my stomach was going through some major changes, that there was just something going on. There was something in my stomach that wanted me to die quicker, wanted me to end quickly. So I said, you know what? There's something about the stomach and death. So I said, let me look in science, and I find Eli Michnikov, who stated back in the early 1900s that the gut bacteria have something to do with our what? Aging. Eli Michnikov, the great man, early 1900s, says death has to do with bacteria. Aging, death has to do with bacteria in the gut, and it ages us and causes us to die. Hippocrates, centuries ago, stated that all diseases, all sickness begin in the gut. Powerful statement. The Greeks had centuries ago proven that, or hypothesized, philosophized, that there was a thing called an atom. They started mathematics. They started mathematics greatly. They started, conscious thinking. They started the theories of understanding the universe. All these different things. And the Greeks have never been wrong in this day. Even what men call mythology is being proven day in, day out of the Greek. So Hippocrates years ago, a man that I say is not wrong, he said that all sicknesses and aging is a pandemic plague, that the most severe attack of it comes through our gut, through our foods, through our liquids, through our breathing. Okay, so we've determined that. How deep, to what level does the sensonic pandemic plague aging go? Well, I have over here, let me see, we go over here to fungus, microbes, stem cell. The stem cell is very sick. It's a powerful, powerful being. The stem cell is a microbe, but no one would argue with you unless they have no sense of reality. No one would argue with you that the stem cell is an extremely powerful being. But when it's in the body of man, science has proven that it has a mortality rate, that it dies inside the body of man. Guess what science has also proven? If taken from the body of man in a in vitro situation, in a laboratory situation, in a petri dish, in whatever the case, test tubes, whatever, the stem cell is indefinite. It continues on. But there are diseases that destroy the stem cell in the body, that weaken the immune system, that battle the immune system, and destroy stem cell after stem cell in the form of a multi-purpose cell, a macrophage, or whatever the case may be. So, how deep does this level go to our stem cells? What all is infected in our body? How deep does this infection go? Our DNA is infected. The membrane of each cell is infected. The organelle of each cell is infected. The nucleus of each cell is infected. This attack, this infection is on the macro, micro, atomic, subatomic, and even subnano, massless energy, massless particles, energy levels. Now we notice up here, I said, who in today's science discovered, when did death and aging and lysis and license begin? In the primordial soup. In the primordial soup. Microbes battling one another, trying to figure out ways that their energy could exist and spread beyond the other one. It began truly on the energy level, as we were taught by two of the greatest men in science, Max Planck and Nikola Tesla. The infection, the battle for life against aging and death began in the primordial soup, science has proven this, by Luca, by RNA World. Many different energies fighting, saying, I must be the one to survive here. And one became a murderer to the extreme by developing bacteria and phages, viruses, enzymes, whatever the case may be, to where they can inject themselves into other life forms and take their DNA, take their life from them, kill them, eat them, and move on to the next kill. Take their energy and move on to the next kill. What are they after? They're after their life, they're after their consciousness, they're after their energy, their force. What do we do when we eat our vegetables, when we eat our meats, when we eat anything? We are taking the energy from that food product and taking it into ourselves. The battle of life against aging and death began in the primordial soup, and one began the system of entering a being and licensing them from within with license, or with what I call battle biophysical life forms, battleships of microbes that moved on into larger microbes such as E. coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Wolbachia, and it went on, and they finally began building larger animals. They began to evolve into larger animals. They evolved from Luca, and Luca is still in all of these life forms that it built from stealing the DNA, RNA of other life forms. This could go on and on. I'm trying to put this in synopsis here, but I'm just showing you how life and death is literally a battle. It's not a natural phenomenon. It's a battle of our life against something that wants to cause us death, something that wants to end our existence. We, again, now I have here existology. Why do I have that up here? I had a man not too long ago demand to know my ology. So that was his exact words. What is your area of study? I told him, well, actually, I'm a data researcher and I'm a solutions analyst. He wouldn't accept it. He said, but I'm telling you, what is your field of study? That's what I just told you. I am a data researcher and I am a solutions analyst. I read data and I try to see if the conclusions were taken properly from that data. And then I use it for my solution of how to cause things not to die, but to allow us to exist. He said, I'm telling you, I want to know, what is your ology? I said, well, okay, my friend, if you're going to demand this from me, I am an existologist. I study that tries to keep us from existing, and I study that will help us to exist. I found the way for us to continue existing, hopefully on into many centuries, but I know it will take us into centuries, and I call it my Gerevivify algorithm. It is a process of where we eat only the proper foods and we grow them properly, and I have found an elixir, the ingredients for an elixir that is the natural enemy of that causes us to age and death. It's in nature. And you know what shocked me one day? I had my hypothesis. I had my theory. I said, you know what, if we could just, I think everything's just screwed up, man. This stuff's and everything's dying. I mean, it's, this shit is everywhere. It's killing us. I just have to find it. But I had to, again, prove it. So I said, maybe if we just purified with our body with some kind of an elixir that would go in, is there such a thing? So I went into science. I started research. I was in shock. It was blaring at me. And then I realized Hippocrates and the Greeks speaking about the ambrosia, the elixir of life that would be coming someday. The Greeks have never been wrong. Say what you want. Call this mythology whatever. They were involved in archaeology. They were involved in science. They were involved in mathematics. They were involved in theory, thinking what happens here. And they spoke of the food of the gods as the only thing that made them live eternally, the foods of the gods, and the elixir of life, the ambrosia. You study on, and you can study the Indian culture. You can study their culture, and there they have their amaretto. Now, some have decided amaretto was the liquids and the fluids of woman. And if I would have heard that in those days, I would have said, my God, because I am more involved. I love the fluids of woman, the liquids of woman. But it turns out that's not the situation. Science has proven it. But, you see, they spoke of the amaretto. Then you can go back to Gilgamesh, where he was searching for the ingredient, the plant that would cause him to live eternally. Then you go to the Chinese, and their emperors and their chemists knew there had to be a way for men to live longer, but they thought it was going to be eventually in a pill form. And they thought it would come from precious metals, and they end up poisoning themselves. It is not from precious metals. Turns out it's just as the great Greek, who I say you can sit down every day, and their so-called mythology and their sciences are proven each day. Hippocrates said the only place we're going to find the healing power to heal all disease and aging and death is the most extreme disease, and it's took more lives than any other disease, aging and death. Hippocrates says we will find the cure in nature. We will find the cure in plants, just as Gilgamesh was looking. Just as the Greeks, well, again, Hippocrates, but they hypothesized, they knew that the only way the gods could have become gods, they believing in their gods, had to be with the perfect foods, with the perfect medicine, the elixir of life. Now, it turns out the elixir of life, my Gerevivify, It's not as the Greeks hypothesized, but I say they were misread. I say that because as men said, the Greeks said all you have to do is take one drink of something and bam, you're eternal. That's not the truth. If you read deeply and you translate it properly, I am sure it comes out where you will have to take it near daily to become what they would call an immortal, to become what they would call a healed being, because they knew it was a medicine of the gods. A medicine. My Gerevivify. My Gerevivify algorithm is the proper way of growing foods, growing the proper foods, the proper medicine, the medicinal medicine, which is all organic. Science has searched, just as the Greeks, just as the men of old, they've searched every platform on earth, but they didn't search for the right ones. I found them in data. So please, I pray I have somehow condensed this in this vortex that is scientific data, that is historic scientific data. I hope I've taken enough out here to prove to you that we have an infection and to prove to you that in science we have had the causes and the cure already located. All we needed was to sit down and read it properly and understand properly and know what is true data and know what is false data. Again, I was asked by gentlemen online, would you please break this down for us a little more greatly? I've read your website. Here is my most condensed form I can possibly do to explain to you how we have a disease, how we die, that we are a microbe and we die in the same fashion of microbe due to the massive infection our body has that we have called natural. Even some call a symbiosis. Even gentlemen from the past called a symbiosis, to where in reality 99% of what is existing inside our human body is trying to stop the Homo sapiens species, trying to shut us down, trying to stop us. My name is Rodney Berry. I hope somehow I have caused you to understand my way of thinking and the way of great scientists. There's great men in science. Aubrey de Grey has 7 ways. He knew the entire cell had to be revamped, to be cleaned, to be somehow purified with a medicine, a drug, to somehow be corrected. Our very chromosomes are infected. Our very genes are infected. The RNA, the DNA of our body is severely infected. We're attacked in hundreds of ways. But praise be to science and the great creator cell, the great creator of life, the stem cell, or we would not now have the means to cure our bodies of aging and premature death and live on into centuries due to science struggling and taking down data and sending it to us this day. My name is R.P. Berry. I respect you greatly. I pray my synopsis here has helped you in some way. Have a good day.